So today I will give you presentation on cloud security. So for making this presentation I refer some book. The first book is related to the cloud security and the last two books is related to the introduction about the cloud computing. So these are some contents. In part A we will see regarding cloud computing, and in part B we regarding some points about cloud security. So very first we will see introduction. So we all know why we use cloud, because nowadays huge amount of data is producing every day, and to store that data uh, on a single machine or on a physical machine, it's not possible. So that's why we go for the cloud, and there is no access local infrastructure setup. You need to install on your machine and then you can install the cloud. So that's why cloud becoming more popular. So before starting anything, we will see first what is the roots, or we can say origin of the cloud computing. So very first is internet, then web 2.0, the virtualization, grid utility, and autonomic computing. So we will see first, that is internet technology. So it's a very simple thing that without internet you cannot access cloud. So in a internet technology there is a one concept, it's called service oriented architecture. So from the figure itself you can easily understand that this is one, the service requester who are requesting the service to the service provider, and this is a service provider who provide the service to the service requester. In between this they are using a SOAP protocol, which is called a simple object access protocol. So with the help of that they can exchange the message, they can communicate with each other. And there is a one service registry that storing all the details about the service, the nature of the service, how to use service, what kind of service is this all type of information is stored into the service registry. And there is a one more protocol, that is WSDL, which is used at the end of this at a server service provider side. So it's nothing but a web service definition language which provides you a service interface. The next is web 2.0. So to create a flexible, interactive, attractive web pages, we all use JavaScripting, Ajax. So with the help of that you can create some very interactive web pages. This is nothing but web 2.0. The example of that is YouTube, Google Document, Google Map, Twitter, Facebook, and so on. So we know the Facebook, YouTube GUI of this is very attractive. The next is virtualization. So we all know what is virtualization. Let's say there is one user, that user is using Windows operating system on their physical machine, but they want to use Linux operating system, but it is not suitable to their physical machine. So they can use that Linux operating system via virtually. So for virtually use the Linux operating system, there is one system image is there, and that system image is contain the OS and all related application. The next is grid and utility computing. So grid computing is coming under the distributed computing. So with the help of a grid computing you can access simultaneously resources like storage, database, server, and so on. And we can say a cloud computing is a successor of grid computing. The next is utility computing. In a daily life we are using some utility things like natural gas, power, water, telephone connection, and so on. So it is same applicable in the utility computing. So utility computing provides you storage, compute power, application, infrastructure, and so on. The next is autonomic computing. So I will give you one example. In a human body, heart functioning, breathing, these all our techniques are done automatically. So same is happen in the autonomic computing. Automatic updation of the software, automatic updation of the driver is the example in autonomic computing. So up till now we will Okay, so up till now, we see all the roots of the cloud computing. The next point is essential characteristic. So very first is on-demand self-service. That means user can create application on cloud, user can manage their application, user can whatever they want to add something into their application, they can add it. If they want to delete something from that application, they can easily delete it. It's a kind of a self service. The second is broad network access. Let's say there is one employee who are sitting at their home and they want to access some file, so they can access that file from their home from any devices because that file is stored on cloud. The third characteristics is resource pooling. So as per the user requirement, resources are provided. So here resources in terms of storage, server, database. The fourth characteristics is elastic. Let's say there is one organization and they are having the three server on cloud, but they want to one more server on cloud, so they can easily scale up, you can say they can easily add one more server into it. Or if they're having a three server but they only want a two server, so they can easily scale down. That means they can easily delete one server. The fourth is major service. There is a very famous term in cloud, that is pay as per use. So this is nothing but pay major service. Next is cloud computing architecture. It contained delivery model, deployment model, and alternative deployment model. So the very first is cloud delivery model. It contained SPI, that is called software, platform, and infrastructure. So software in terms of software as a service, platform in terms of platform as a service, infrastructure in terms of infrastructure as a service. So we will see one by one. I will explain you. Very first is infrastructure as a service. So let's say there is one user, they are creating a server on cloud, they are creating database on cloud, they are using virtual operating system on cloud. That means that user is using infrastructure which is available on cloud. This is nothing but infrastructure as a service. The next is platform as a service. So that means the user is creating the application on their machine, they are creating the database on their machine, and they are just deploying their database and application on cloud for running purpose. That means they are using to run their project on cloud, so they are just using the platform to run their project. So in short, they are running their project in cloud environment. That is nothing but platform as a service. So this is one example of the platform as a service. The very famous cloud is Heroku, which provides a platform as a service. So here I am deploying my application, basically GUI of my application, by following these steps. So to run the to deploy the your application on Heroku, you need git bash and Heroku command line interface. So this is one more example of software as a service. So this is one of the P cloud drive. It's look like your C and D drive. So you can open this drive on your machine itself, or you can open this drive, P cloud drive, on your web browser itself. So you can just uploading the files from your machine on this cloud. So this is nothing but the example of the software as a service. One more example is like Gmail. So Gmail is just a ready-made software, and we are just using that software. We are not managing any database, we are not managing any storage, we are not managing any server of the Gmail. We are just using a ready-made Gmail software. So this is nothing but software as a service. The next part is cloud deployment model, which is contained public, private, hybrid, and community cloud. So in public cloud, the name itself tells that it's publicly available. Private cloud, it's privately available. Hybrid, combinations of public and private. You want to store sensitive information, go for the private cloud. There is no access sensitive information, you can use public cloud. Then one more cloud is community cloud. Let's say two or more organization having the same need to use a cloud, so that is called community cloud. So this is the alternative deployment model, which is, you can say, it's extension of SPI. So in a previous we will see, we see that what is SPI, that is software platform and infrastructure. So that contain the Linthicum model and Jericho Cloud Cube model. So Linthicum model is introduced by the David Linthicum, which is a chief cloud strategy officer. So they are stating some services about the cloud, which is very simple. From the name also you can easily understand that. The next model is Jericho Cloud Cube model. So here we will see every term. The very first term is external. If your data is stored outside the cloud, that means it's external. If your data stored inside the cloud, that means it's internal. The next is proprietary and open. If you are using private cloud, then it's a secure one and it's your own cloud. So that's what a proprietary. Open means it's open to all, it's public, it's less secure than proprietary or private cloud. Another term is parameterize, and then another one is deparameterize. So customer setting their own parameters and they are using cloud on their own parameters. So infrastructure as a service and platform as a service is coming under the parameterized. And the next is deparameterize. So user is not setting any parameter, they are just using a ready-made software, so that's called a software as a service. The next is insource and outsource. That means who do you want to run in your cloud, either third party or either by you, under your control. So that is what insource and outsource. So up till now we will see cloud computing part. Another one is cloud security. That means we are providing a security on cloud data, database, server, and so on. So the first point is cloud security services. So it contained authentication, authorization, auditing, accountability. Authentication means a system can authenticate the user by their ID and password, and only authenticate user can access the resources, can modify the data. That is called authorization. The next is auditing. It is having two parts, is system audit and system monitoring. So system audit is one time or it's a periodic event, for example backup of your system. System monitoring is ongoing activity. Next is accountability. So determine the action and the behavior of the individual person, either they behave, either their behavior is normal or it is misbehaving. This is called accountability. The next is some cloud security design principle. So very first is least privilege, means complete the task with the help of minimum access. So let's say if user want to insert the data into the database, so that particular user only having access of insert operation. This type of user cannot access about update and delete operation. So this kind of the things is coming under the least privilege. Second is separation of duties. We should divide the work into different employees, because if one employee is inserting data, deleting data, updating data, so it may chance that that particular employee can misbehave with your data. Because of that you have to divide the work into multiple people. So one employee can do the insertion, one employee can delete the operation, one employee can update the data. Likewise, third is defense in depth. I will give one example for that, is lock plus latch. You know, our home door, we set lock plus latch. Breaking the lock is more easy, but breaking the latch is not so much easy. So we are providing the multiple layer of security. Same is happen in the cloud security also. So for that purpose there is a one organization which is IATF. It's provide excellent guidance in the defense in depth. So this organization is producing one document which contain the level of security, means encryption, hashing, this type of level of security you should provide on your cloud. Next is fail safe. After recovery of your system have to work properly. Fifth one, economy of mechanism. Design of security mechanism is as simple as possible. Sixth one, complete mediation. That means right person having a right access. If one particular user is having insert operation, then that user cannot access other operation like delete, update, and so on. This is kind of things is coming under the complete mediation. Seventh one is principle of open design. There is one misconception that if your algorithm is complex, that means you are providing a more security. It's not like that. If your algorithm is simple, then also you can provide a more security. That is nothing but principle of open design. And you should keep your algorithm open to all, because so that expert can suggest something in your algorithm, so you can update the algorithm. Eighth one, least common mechanism. If your file is shared among multiple user, then protection or security to all the user is should be same. Ninth one is psychological acceptability. On many website, you see that if you are entering the id and password, and if your id is incorrect and your password is correct, then system tell you that your id or password is incorrect. The system never tell you that your password is correct but id is wrong, because it give you extra information to the attacker. This is nothing but psychological acceptability. The 10th one is weakest link. So cloud security need to identify the weak component from system. 11th, leveraging existing component. If you adding any new component into your system, then existing component should be work properly. Because of the new component, they are not affecting any existing component. So next is secure cloud software requirements. That means if developer is developing the application, then what are the factors should be considered? The first factor is handling data. That means whenever the user is entering the password, that password should be in the form of ancentric. It should not be in the form of plain text. Next is code practice. The developer should be done the coding in such a way that not too much information you are open to attacker. Third one, language option. You should choose a best language for developing your application. Fourth, input validation. Whatever the input is entered by the user, it should be validated by the system. Next is disaster recovery and business continuity planning. So we all know what is a disaster. So disaster in terms of cloud, that is complete service failure, backup fail. It's called a disaster. So to recovering from disaster, your system should consider the following points which I am listing here. The next is business continuity planning. That means this is called BCI. It's called this design for business to reducing the risk and financial loss. So there are four principles for BCI. Is the very first is scope and plan initiation. That means you creating a scope and define the plan parameter. The second is business impact assessment. You should identify and detecting some vulnerability points from where attacks may happen on your system. Third one is business continuity plan development. According to the plan, you can implement, test, maintain your application or software. Fourth one, plan approval and implementation. After the plan approval, you can implement your implementation will start. So this is nothing but some threats on the cloud. Insider user also a threat on cloud. External attack may happen on your infrastructure, application, and cloud. If your backup is going to be leak, so it become a threat also. So backup of your data, it become a threat. Integrity means only authenticate user can modify the data. So it may happen that authenticate user incorrect the configuration of their application, so it become a threat. Availability, simple example for that is DOS attack. If this type of attack is happen on the system is completely unavailable to the legitimate person also. So this is cloud security tools. That means there are some factors which is contain the cloud security tool. The very first is IAM, that is identity and access management. That means identity means only user can enter into the system by their ID and password, and that is called authentication. Then authorization means only authenticated user can do the activities into the system. But if that particular user is having only insert operation access, then that particular user cannot having an access about the delete update operation. Next is single sign on. That means one click and you can access all the apps. Then data loss prevention. This is help organization to keep their sensitive information safe from the cyber attacks. So thank you so much.